Hi students, this is going to be a quick overview of the U.S. history lesson from 6th period from Thursday, February 25th. We're going to be going over the Zoot riots. So as you know, in the previous class, we were going over minorities and their role in the military. We were examining what their roles were and how they were treated. Now we're going to be looking at minorities that weren't in the military, mainly race relations and what they were like during the U.S. During World War II. The Mexican Revolution occurred from 1910 to 1920. This was a result of President Diaz, and he let a lot of agrarian culture go to a lot of the wealthy landowners during that time. This led for the North and the South to be fighting about land control, and so with all of that tension, a lot of Mexicans immigrated to the United States in the 1920s. This caused Los Angeles to have one of the largest Mexican-American communities of any U.S. city during that time. The life of a Mexican in the United States during the 1920s and 30s and even into the 40s, they faced a lot of racial segregation and discrimination. We read the sign here. It says, "We serve whites only, no Spanish or Mexicans." Because of this, the first Border Patrol was set up in 1924, but before that it was fairly easy to immigrate to the United States. Many people started getting kicked out of the United States, even if they were born in the United States. With that, about a total of 2 million Mexicans and Mexican Americans were deported. There are some pictures here that you can see that are of the mass deportations that took place. This one in particular is from Union Station in Los Angeles. At the start of World War II, in 1942, the Bracero program imported a large amount of Mexican workers to supply agricultural labor during World War II. Most of these workers were younger. This Mexican-American youth, they actually were not traditionally Mexican, nor were they traditionally American. They essentially created an identity that was their own. This identity is known as a Zoot suit. Some adults in the United States saw this as being particularly flashy and basically being extra during that time period. If we think back to our previous class from last week, we looked at some World War II propaganda that told us that we needed to be very conservative with our materials. We needed to recycle. We needed to be careful. This image basically says, "Waste helps the enemy." This one is a housewife pledging to only pay for proper goods using legal means. We were even looking about saving gas and being very conservative with our money. So if we compare that to these images of people wearing these flashy suits during that time when the entire country is trying to save, we're really looking at the fact that people were resenting people who would be wasteful and not supporting the World War II cause. So for this, they were not being seen as genuinely American or patriotic. At this point in class, lecture notes were done, and we started watching a video on the Zoot riots and what life was like for Mexican Americans during the 1940s and the World War II era. Following that, we looked at two different documents. Document A, which looked at, it's entitled Near Martial Law in LA Riot Zones. It was from the Los Angeles Daily News in 1943. And another document, Document B, the battle between Marines and Pachucos from 1943 as well. We looked at those documents and we filled out this graphic organizer. So we were looking for a few things. We wanted to be able to know, like, what do you predict the source will say about the Zoot riots? We wanted to know what the document actually said about them and who they were blaming for all of the violence, what evidence they used to support their claim, and we wanted to know is one source that they use more reliable than the other. So you're kind of comparing and contrasting document A and document B. So that's what this looks like. We're filling this out. And after that's done, we moved on to the proving behavior. The proving behavior is on the back of this same sheet. And it is asking you to write a TIA paragraph arguing who was responsible for causing the Zoot Suit riots. Each article definitely pinpoints a different source, but we were asking you to pick one and to decide who was mainly responsible for it. You need to answer this in complete sentences, use at least one piece of evidence from the documents, make sure your claim is clearly stated, and that you analyze that evidence. So again, following the TIEAC format. Now that you know what you missed in last class, you can do one of two things. You can collect the readings as well as the proving behavior in the graphic organizer and take those home and finish them. As long as those get done, you turn them into us the next class, you'll be able to get credit for it. The other option would be to come to office hours to work on those, and we're happy to assist you in it if this video wasn't enough. We can also email this video to you as well if you'd like to go through it at home and try to do the work on your own.